he's been handling the point guard duties, and he's been excelling at it. And when he's like 6'10" and handling the point guard, that's scary thought for the opposition when he handles the ball so well. So those are my 3 honorable mentions. Let's go to the winner. As I said, most people seem to agree with this. You got to go C.J. McCollum. Portland Trailblazers stepped in admirably, in that shooting guard position with Nicholas Batum heading to Charlotte, and then also Wesley Matthews going to Dallas. This season, he's averaging 20.9 points per game and 4.3 rebounds, shooting 42.1% from downtown, 82.7% from the foul line is about 13% better than he did last year. So, of course, some of the increases are from more advanced minutes, averaging 34.8 this year, averaged about 16 last year, but there's no denying he has played a great secondary role to Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard somehow did not make the All-Star game. The All-Star game was a couple months ago, and I still, it still bugs me. How the heck did Damian Lillard not make the All-Star team when Portland's doing what they're doing? But, anyhow, McCollum, definitely my choice for most improved player. We'll go with most surprising team then. I got a couple of, most disappointings. Most surprising team came down to 3 teams for me. 1, Toronto Raptors. After they got swept by the Washington Wizards in the first round of the playoffs last year, you wondered if, they just were not that good a team. Here they are, though, 53-26, actually somewhat battled Cleveland for that first overall seed in the East. Cleveland will get it, but Toronto still fits in at number 2. Definitely, as I mentioned earlier, need to get out of the first round of the playoffs after last season's disaster. They don't. A guy like DeMar DeRozan, who is a free agent after the season, you may see him head to another team. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of teams willing to offer him the max contract. So, definitely important for Toronto to succeed in this season's playoffs. Charlotte Hornets, 46-34. I've talked about them earlier. Haven't had Michael Kidd-Gilchrist for almost the entire season. Now Jefferson's missed a bunch of games, but here they are. Kemba Walker. Actually, I probably could have included Kemba Walker in my most improved player. Walker's shown capabilities in his first few seasons in the league, but, is a volume shooter, someone who couldn't reach that 40% field goal percentage mark. He's way over that this season. Has been scoring at will recently. I probably should have included him. Let's consider him an honorable mention because, what Kemba Walker has done has been, quite spectacular. Besides Damian Lillard, probably was the biggest all-star snub, I would say, this past February. Those are my 2 honorable mentions. The winner, this team seems to be, nearly sweeping the awards, but Portland Trailblazers gave him Coach of the Year, gave him Most Improved Player. I'm also giving him most surprising team because like I said, most people picked them probably in the bottom 3, maybe along with the Lakers or the Minnesota Timberwolves as teams that would be at the bottom of the Western Conference. Well, they're far from the bottom, and they're going to the playoffs despite losing 4/5 of their starting lineup. Here they are, 5 games over 500 with 1 game remaining. Just quite the spectacular season for Portland. Damian Lillard, what a season he's had for Portland in helping them, being a leader for them, and as they make their playoff run starting this weekend. So Portland Trailblazers are my most surprising team. Now, we'll go to the most disappointing team. I actually have 5 choices here because I think all 5 of these teams were really disappointing. I would say the least disappointing of the 5, and they were still fairly disappointing. Bucks 32 and 47 this year. Compare that to last season when they went 41 and 41, earning the sixth seed in the East. They would be getting Jabari Parker back this season. Jabari Parker played maybe 20 games last season before tearing his ACL to miss the rest of the season. So, team that seemed to be on the rise. Jason Kidd entering his second year as the Bucks head coach. Had Antetokounmpo, guy mentioned as a most improved player and candidate. He did show improvements. Chris Middleton did his thing, but one trade that I just didn't really agree with last season, and I think this season more so proved it, even though he's missed some games, Brandon Knight, due to injury. But I just did not like them giving up Brandon Knight for Michael Carter-Williams. Michael Carter-Williams, to me, is, just a guy who doesn't have much of an outside shot. And, I just don't really see him reaching, that top tier of point guards. Even last season, after they made that trade, they started to fall off. Went under 500 after acquiring him. Carter Williams was benched for part of the season. Now he's injured. Just did not like that trade for them. They lost Zaza Pachulia, who's been playing well with Dallas. Milwaukee's just been a disappointment. Another disappointing team has to be the Washington Wizards, who will be watching this season's playoffs. They're 39 and 41. Last season they went 46 and 36, acquiring the fifth seed in the Eastern Conference. Big loss for them apparently was Paul Pierce, their veteran leader, starting small forward. He is on the Clippers now this season. Last season they made that big push, sweeping the Raptors in the first round of the playoffs, taking the top-seeded Atlanta Hawks to 6 games in a tightly contested series. So, the Wizards definitely look like another team that might be on the upswing despite losing their veteran leader, Pierce. Bradley Beal, another year in that league. A lot of people are expecting to make that jump to becoming an all-star alongside his backcourt partner of John Wall. Beal missed a bunch of games this season, and for the Wizards it didn't happen, and likely, reports are saying that it will cost Randy Whitman, the Wizards head coach, his job. So they're an honorable mention team. Another one is the New Orleans Pelicans. Just dealt with a boatload of injuries this season, including Anthony Davis, who's going to end up missing something like 25 games this season. Drew Holiday's currently out. Ryan Anderson's currently out. Tyreek Evans, barely played this season. Quincy Pondexter missed this season. But, people were expecting Anthony Davis to make that jump, to possibly be the best player in the NBA this season. And after they made the run for the 8th seed last year, finishing 45 and 37, people just expected them to improve. 30 and 50, that surely hasn't happened. They fired their head coach, Monty Williams, after last season, despite making the playoffs. Alvin Gentry, now their head coach, might have been a mistake, firing Monty Williams when the team, no one really was picking them to make the playoffs last season. They've definitely been a disappointment. My last honorable mention, and probably the runner-up for this award, Chicago Bulls, 40 and 40. Last season were 50 and 32. Third seed, you almost always expect to see the Bulls in the playoffs when you got guys like Jimmy Butler and Pau Gasol. Derrick Rose missed, his least amount of games in probably 4 or 5 seasons. Their big mistake, almost like the Pelicans may have been getting rid of their head coach. Tom Thibodeau, him and the Bulls front office just seem to have too much strife and conflict between them. Thibodeau was let go. Their defense has, gone down the tank under Fred Hoiberg, and now there's probably a 95% chance, they need to go 2-0. The Pacers need to go 0-3 for them to make the playoffs, and, of course, that's not very likely. But the winner of the award is a team that made the Western Conference Finals last season and now sit a game out of the playoffs with 3 games remaining. That's the Houston Rockets, 38 and 41. Last year they went 56 and 26, getting the 6th seed. As I mentioned, made the Western Conference Finals where they lost to the eventual NBA champion Golden State Warriors. Now, Kevin McHale got fired maybe 10, 15 games into the season. Team hasn't really shown much improvement, if any, under interim coach J.B. Bickerstaff. There's all these reports of Dwight Howard and James Harden not getting along. Dwight Howard will be a free agent after the season. Will he be gone? We'll find out in a couple months. They traded for Ty Lawson. After so many near all-star seasons with the Denver Nuggets, came the Rockets, just didn't succeed. More on him in my last category, category after this one, the last one. So Houston Rockets, just a major disappointment, and right now looking like they will not make the playoffs. Final category is the most disappointing player. I got 3 choices for this. And we're starting off with a guy who's on a team that's 65 and 14, San Antonio Spurs. But, the way Danny Green's shot for the Spurs during his tenure with the team, this season has just been a big disappointment for him. He still started every game he's played in, all 76 of them, but he's only averaging 7.3 points per game, shooting 37.7% from the field. Compare that to his previous 5 seasons with the Spurs, when each of those seasons he shot at least 43.2% from the field. 33.5% from downtown. Compare that to his previous 4 seasons with the Spurs, when each of them he shot at least 41.8% on threes, and his 75.6% free throw percentage is the lowest of his career. So it's definitely been a struggle for Danny Green this season, and probably the one blemish on what has been an incredible season for San Antonio. As I mentioned, 2 home games away from becoming the first team in NBA history to go the entire season without a home loss. Next guy, he's been injured much this season. He only appeared in 29 games, but what a drop it's been for Joakim Noah of the Chicago Bulls. In those 29 games, he only averaged 4.3 points per game, 38.3% shooting, 48.9% from the line. It just became an absolute negative on the offensive end. It was just 2 years ago. He was Defensive Player of the Year, and seen as probably one of the top 15, top 20 players in the NBA. That is no longer the case. He will be a free agent after the season. It will be interesting to see if the Bulls will re-sign him. I recently saw a report saying that they were actually going to try to re-sign him, and probably let Pau Gasol go his separate ways. Pau Gasol also a free agent. But the winner, a guy I just mentioned a minute ago, Ty Lawson, just expected to be that piece that can maybe push the Rockets over and possibly potentially be an NBA Finals team. Definitely hasn't happened. Rockets may not make the playoffs. Lawson no longer on the team, now on the Pacers. He's played 10 games with Indiana. Not much to talk about there. In his 53 games with the Rockets, he shot just 38.7% from the field, averaging 5.5 points per game and 3.4 assists a game. It's not even like he was playing limited minutes. He was still averaging 21.2 minutes per game. His previous 4 seasons with the Nuggets, he averaged at least 15.2 points and 6.6 assists per game. Far, far away from those numbers. If you believe in player efficiency rating, his player efficiency rating this year with the Rockets was 8.9. Compare that to the last 4 seasons when it was 18.5, 19, 17.9, and 19.4. Ty Lawson just had a miserable season with the Houston Rockets, and the Houston Rockets have just had a miserable season in general. So that does it for my best and worst of the NBA regular season. We are 3 days away from the last day of the NBA regular season, and we are 6 days away from the 2019 16 NBA playoffs beginning. I have 20 seconds left, so I want to thank all my listeners for tuning in for episode number 67. I hope you enjoyed it. So until next time, good night.